I subsequently married my high school sweetheart. I was pregnant with my son Terry before I got married. And 2 weeks before the wedding, my fiancé came to me and told me that he was in love with another woman. My mother told me that I didn't need to go through with the wedding, but because things were so financially bad at home, I did not want to be a burden. However, after marriage, my first husband would leave for work on Friday mornings, which were paydays, and I would not see him again until Monday night after work. He was into drugs and was very abusive. We lived in a bad neighborhood. Our apartment had been broken into several times. I became pregnant with my second child, Tiffany. When I had decided to leave him, I went to an attorney. Now, this was back in the early 70s. The attorney told me that I should stay with my husband because no man would want to marry a woman with 2 children, and it would be difficult for me, as a single mother, to support 2 children on my own. I thought, are you kidding me? I decided to secretly save my money so that I could leave. Then one night, when I was 9 months pregnant, it was pouring down rain, and my husband wanted to go out with the fellas. I knew that if he left, I probably wouldn't see him again for days. I asked him not to go. He told me he was going anyway. I told him that if he left, I was going to lock the door and he wouldn't be able to get back in. Unknown to him, I had taken his house key off his key ring. He then proceeded to take the door off its hinges. Now, given the bad neighborhood we lived in, I tried to stop him. He beat me so badly, one eye was swollen shut. He left me that night, bruised, battered, with our 2-year-old son, and no front door on the apartment, in a bad neighborhood. It was that night that I called my mother and said that I had had enough. I packed up my son Terry and some of our clothes, and I left. My mother took me to the police station to file charges, but after telling the officer my story, he indicated that I may want to reconsider filing, because normally this action only infuriates the spouse and causes him to become more violent. Therefore, I decided not to file charges against him. Although I did not file charges, as the officer suggested, I took my mother's advice, and after that night, I never looked back. Thank God I had saved $500. I used $250 to buy a raggedy Chevrolet Corvair. The car was so bad, it had a hole in the floorboard in the back seat. I couldn't even let Terry ride in the back. Also, the car had been in an accident, and the driver's side was smashed. You couldn't even roll up the window all the way. I had to put a rolled-up piece of sponge to keep the rain and snow out. I took the other $250 and rented a really nice townhome in a nice part of town. The deposit, however, was $500. I went to the manager, explained my situation, and told him that I only had $250 to my name. But if he would rent me that townhome, I promised him that what I owed him I would pay, and I would never be late on my rent. He gave me the townhouse. I subsequently paid him the other $250, and no, I was never late on my rent. But I had no money. I fed my children chicken pot pies every night because they were 3 for $1, and you had a full meal. You had your meat, you had your bread, which was the crust, and vegetables all in one. Do you know, to this day, my son Terry will not eat pot pies. Once I had my car and home situation taken care of, I could concentrate on school. I doubled up on my schoolwork and received both my master's degree and my bachelor's degree in 3 years while working full-time on my rent.